What if I told you, the moment you stop worrying is the moment your real life begins? Not when you get more money, not when your health is perfect, not when everything is finally in your control, but when you let go of the endless loop of what ifs. Because here's the truth that most of us never pause to question. We spend our lives waiting, worrying about tomorrow, next week, next year, and in doing so, we miss the very life we're longing for. We carry invisible burdens. We imagine worst-case scenarios. We relive old mistakes and fear future ones that may never even come. It becomes a habit, a way of thinking, a silent thief of joy. But the Buddha, thousands of years ago, saw this clearly. He didn't teach us to escape life. He taught us to live it fully, right here, right now, without the weight of worry. He said, "The secret of health for both mind and body is not to mourn for the past, not to worry about the future, but to live the present moment wisely and earnestly." Before we go deeper into today's reflection, please support our team by liking this video and subscribing to the channel. It gives us the motivation to continue creating meaningful, healing content for you and others who may need it. So today, I invite you to pause with me. Let's explore this quiet truth, that worrying is not caring, it is suffering in advance, and it is optional. Together, we'll look through the lens of Buddhist wisdom, to understand what worry really is, why it controls us, and how letting go of it may be the most powerful thing you ever do. Stay with me, because your real life might be waiting just on the other side of worry. Have you ever stopped to ask yourself, where does worry come from? It may feel like a natural part of life, something we just live with, like the weather. But when we look through the lens of the Buddha's wisdom, we begin to see that worry is not just a feeling. It is a mental habit, a pattern we feed without even realizing. We often believe that if we worry enough, we'll somehow prevent bad things from happening. That worry is a form of protection, that if we think it through hard enough, we'll be safe. But the truth is, worry doesn't protect us. It drains us. It steals our peace, moment by moment. The Buddha taught us that at the root of our suffering are three poisons of the mind: craving, aversion, and delusion. Worry is often a quiet mix of all three. We crave certainty. We want everything to go exactly as we hope. We fear loss. We resist change. And we forget the truth, that all things are impermanent. We try to hold on to what cannot be held, to control what cannot be controlled. And when life doesn't promise us guarantees, we worry. Worry, in this way, becomes the mind's attempt to bargain with reality. But the Buddha reminded us, this life is not meant to be controlled. It is meant to be understood and lived with awareness. He once said, when an ordinary person is touched by pain, they suffer twice. First, the pain itself, and second, the story the mind adds to it. We replay, anticipate, resist, imagine. All of this creates a second layer of suffering, entirely mental. And that's what worry is. It is the second arrow, the one we fire into ourselves. You see, pain is part of life, but worry? That's optional. It's the result of forgetting the present, of leaving the now, and getting lost in what if. When we're stuck in worry, it's as if the mind is drifting without an anchor, tossed by waves of fear, stories, and imagined disasters. The Buddha never promised calm seas, but he gave us the practice to stay steady in the storm, not through control, but through clarity, through seeing things as they are, not worse than they are. He taught that everything changes, that trying to grasp the future only leads to suffering, and that real freedom comes when we rest in the truth of the present. Peace is not out there. It's not after the bills are paid or the test results come back. Peace is here, now, You might not have noticed it, because worry makes the world feel too loud. But if you pause, if you return to this breath, to this moment, you'll realize what you feared is not here. What you worried about is not real. Only this breath, only this life, and this moment is enough. We often think that worry is just a feeling we carry inside, but the truth is, it shapes how we live. It changes the way we breathe, the way we speak, the way we treat ourselves and others. And slowly, without realizing it, it becomes the lens through which we see the world. When we're worried, we stop seeing clearly. We stop listening fully. We stop being present, even in the moments that matter most. How many times have you been with someone you love, but your mind was somewhere else? Caught in a future that hasn't come, replaying a fear that hasn't happened, missing the smile in front of you, the warmth of sunlight, the comfort of simply being alive. Worry doesn't just visit us, it settles in, it builds walls in the mind, and it whispers, "Be careful, be ready. Something might go wrong." And so we live not with freedom, but with defense, not with joy, but with caution, not with love, but with tension. The Buddha understood this well. He saw that when the mind is filled with fear of what's to come, it forgets the miracle of what already is. There's a line in the teachings that says, "People with unsettled minds, who do not know the true Dharma, go round and round like a rabbit caught in a trap." That's what worry does. It traps us in a future that doesn't exist, and it convinces us that safety will come only after we've solved every possible problem. But peace doesn't come after the mind is finished thinking. It comes when the mind stops chasing what it cannot control. Real life, the life that's happening now, can only be touched when we're present. Not when we're prepared for every outcome, not when we've solved every fear, but when we're here, breathing, noticing, living. Ask yourself gently, how much of your life has been spent worrying about a life that hasn't happened yet? How many mornings were heavy before anything went wrong? How many nights were sleepless because of a storm that only lived inside your head? The Buddha offered us not just spiritual wisdom, but practical liberation. He didn't say life would always be easy, but he reminded us that suffering is something we feed with our thoughts, and when we stop feeding it, it begins to fade. That is the quiet revolution of letting go. That is when real life begins. Not the perfect life, not the fantasy, but the one that's real, the one that's already here, waiting for you to return. So how do we stop worrying? Not by force, not by pretending everything is fine, and not by trying to silence the mind with willpower, but by learning to be here, completely. The Buddha taught a path so simple, yet so powerful. It begins with one breath, one moment, one return to now. It's called mindfulness. Mindfulness is not just awareness. It's a deep presence, a gentle watching, a quiet knowing that doesn't judge, doesn't react, just sees. When we practice mindfulness, we begin to see worry for what it is, a thought, a sensation, a ripple in the mind, not a fact, not a future. We watch it rise and fall, like a wave in the ocean that comes and goes, and we stop believing that every wave deserves our full attention. Mindfulness gives us space, space to breathe, space to choose, space to rest, even while the mind still makes noise. The Buddha said, "Just as a solid rock is not shaken by the wind, so the wise are not shaken by praise or blame." In the same way, mindfulness helps us remain grounded, even when the winds of fear begin to blow. You don't need to escape to a mountain or monastery. You don't need hours of silence. You just need a moment. Right now, You can place your hand on your heart, feel the breath enter, and say quietly in your mind, I am here. I am safe. This moment is enough. Try this with me now. Inhale slowly. Feel the air fill your lungs. Exhale gently. Let your shoulders relax. Let your mind soften. You don't need to fix anything right now. You don't need to figure anything out. You're just breathing. You're just being. That alone is sacred. Mindfulness is not about escaping life. It's about entering it, fully, completely, without resistance. When we are mindful, we see that many of our worries aren't even real. They're stories, projections, shadows of fear. But the present moment, this breath, is real. And it's all we ever truly have. When we come back to it, we begin to come home. To a life that isn't controlled by fear, but guided by clarity, compassion, and stillness. And the more we return to the present, the less we are owned by what hasn't happened. The more we live, the less we worry. Let me tell you a story. It's about a man named Harold, 72 years old, retired, living alone in a quiet neighborhood in Oregon. He had worked hard his whole life, paid his dues, raised his kids. Yet every morning after retirement, he woke up with tightness in his chest, not because of illness, but because of worry. He worried about his health, about being a burden to his children, about forgetting things, about losing his independence. Some days, he worried about nothing in particular, just the feeling itself. A low hum of unease, like a storm in the distance that never came, but never left either. He tried walks, books, even medication, but nothing brought peace. Until one morning, by pure chance, he stumbled on a video. It was a monk sitting cross-legged, speaking about the nature of the mind, calmly, simply, without urgency. The monk said, "You are not your thoughts. You are the one who sees them." Something in Harold softened. He watched more. He listened. He learned that the Buddha had taught about impermanence, about clinging, and about fear. He began to sit quietly in the morning, not for long, just 5 minutes. He would breathe, and when his worries came, he didn't try to push them away. He just observed. Oh, there's the fear of falling. There's the thought about my memory. There's the worry about being alone. He didn't resist. He just noticed. And slowly, not suddenly but gently, something began to shift. The mornings felt lighter. He started noticing the sound of birds outside his window. He took slower walks. He called his daughter just to say hi, not to ask for anything, not to check on something, just to connect. He wasn't waiting for a crisis anymore. He was living his life, not worrying it away. Harold once told a friend, "I thought worry was part of who I was, but now I see it was just a habit, and habits can change." This is not a dramatic story. There was no miracle, no big transformation, just one quiet truth, that worry can lose its power when we stop feeding it, that healing doesn't always come with noise and fireworks. Sometimes it arrives in silence, in stillness, in a breath. And it begins the moment we choose to stop running from the now. So maybe now, you see it too. That worry never gave you control. It only gave you tension. That it never prevented anything. It only prevented peace. And maybe, just maybe, you're ready to try something different. Not because life is perfect, not because fear is gone forever, but because you're tired of missing what's already here. This breath, this quiet, this life. The Buddha never promised a life without change or challenge, but he gave us something far greater. A path to walk through life with eyes open, a heart calm, and a mind at rest. So take one gentle step forward today. Maybe it's a minute of silence. Maybe it's watching your breath. Maybe it's simply reminding yourself, I don't need to carry everything. I can let go, even for a moment. If this message touched something in you, if it brought you peace or clarity, or even just one breath of stillness, I invite you to share it. Leave a comment below. Let your voice be part of this quiet space. And if you'd like to walk this path together, subscribe to this channel, because each week we return here to remember what truly matters. Thank you for being here. Thank you for breathing. And may you be free from the burdens you were never meant to carry.